over the last 10 years working with so many fitness businesses, and prior to that doing a lot of business coaching, having a look inside a lot of different businesses and seeing how they operate. Myself personally starting off having no idea how to run a business, how to structure it, what I was really in business for. There's a lot of learning that goes along with that. And so the whole purpose of today is look at this concept of getting profit, as much profit into your business as possible. Now, unfortunately, what happens is that people start in a business, they don't really have a clear idea why they're getting a business for. They maybe think it's a good idea. And with a lack of direction, lack of knowledge means that this business can become, a bit of a monster that needs continuous feeding. I'm going to start the story about one particular person who stands out in my mind. Last year that I did some work with, this particular person had owned a martial arts school for 20 odd years, and when we started to go through and look at the performance of the business over that time, the thing that stood out for me is that there was absolutely no profit at all that had been delivered from this business. Now, when I explored a little bit further about why that's the case, why after 20 years of being in business isn't there any profit to speak about, so that if the door shut tomorrow, that there would be a substantial amount of money to reap the rewards from all those years of business. What we found was there was a lot of exuberant lifestyle, cars, spending money on cars, things that really don't make you any money. And so this business was basically funding this lifestyle that first. So instead of profit first, it was expense first, expense second, expense third, little to no profit at all. And so when I sat down and, I gave, I guess, what you would call a rewind package of what could have been, it was simply the fact that over 20 years, this business had the capability of putting aside 40 to 50 grand's worth of profit each year. Now, combine that over, 10 years, if it's 40 grand, just to be conservative, there's $400,000, and then in 20 years there's $800,000, sorry, without even touching it, versus the situation, the reality that that person is right now, and that is a big whopping zero. So, there's a lot of imagery out there that's, you get in business and drive the flash cars and do all this and have a big business but the reality is that's all good and well if that particular business model can sustain that, can provide that. But I mean, unfortunately, a lot of ego gets in the way when it comes to running businesses. I know there's certainly that concept you can buy into that, this person has this car, they must be doing exceptionally well. But unless you see the reality of the financial statements, maybe that person's just in a huge amount of debt, and this business is like, a big stress ball, and they've got to fund and get all these new sales and get all these income coming in to provide that. So the simple concept today is, get as much profit across as you possibly can, while making sure that you're growing your business for the right reasons, not because you just want it to be a big business or, you want to expand. It's like, why are we doing this? What is this business supposed to provide us lifestyle-wise? And I have this concept that I got onto many years ago, and it's called Debt Busters, and it's how I paid off two of my homes that I bought. My first home I paid off in 3 years, and then upgraded the second year I paid off in around about the same time. And it's by using this concept that we teach all of our students. And so the principle of it is that if you look at where are you currently putting money across into things that just aren't giving you a return, versus on your education, on some kind of further betterment for yourself or your business, and where is money just getting wasted? The second part of it is that normally what I find is that when people have a debt, such as a car debt, they've paid it off, they've been used to paying, $200-300 a month, whatever it may be. As soon as that debt's cleared, what do? You betcha they get themselves back into the debt again, rather than if they've been used to paying that $200-300 a month anyway, instead of then getting themselves back into debt that's just of no value, wouldn't you take that $200-300 and now go put it aside and set some profit? Now, I'll give you a quick example. Last week we were running an event, our first Brisbane event, and the venue we're running it at, the projector wouldn't work, the one that we had paid to, but was included in the room. And so we couldn't get it to work. We were about to launch. We had to do the first session without one. Long story short, the lady running it was kind enough to say, look, because of this inconvenience, and I know it's not great, we're going to not charge you for the room. Now, to run the 2-day event, the room hire was $650. Now, here's a quick illustration of what I'm talking about. That $650, what do we do with it? Do we spend it, blow it on other things? The first thing that we did was go, we're going to put that straight across into an additional amount of profit for this month of January, because we were going to spend it anyway. Better to put it across the profit first. Otherwise, what may happen? Well, it could just get spent on stuff that's unnecessary. The next thing that we did for this month is that for our business, we have a website. It's a learning management system where all our intellectual property gets housed, templates, resources, training for our clients. Now, that's $440 per month. Now, we've been able to use another system that does everything for us, that can consolidate it and house that at the same time. So what we've done is we're now going to do away with that $440 a month website that we had. It's no longer needed. What do we do with the $440? Well, once again, if you've been watching this for the time you've been on, you'll know that now that $440 is going straight to profit. Because if you don't have that understanding, that mindset of profit first and looking at what we can get across, it's always coming last. And that's not ideal, and that's what a lot of businesses do. They have all the expenses, they go, look, I'll just invest more money in brand new equipment and do all this, and then what I'll do is I'll get profit from it later. It's not the way to do it. It's not the way to train your subconscious and yourself that, you know, you're getting always to miss out. So I don't care if it's $10, $20, $30. If we make a start in farming profit across first, then you're on a winner. And so that's exactly what we do. So already for this month, there's an additional, $1,000 of profit coming in on top of that profit that the business will make in total anyway. And so work that out. If that was another $1,000 that we're saving every month for the course of this year alone, and being conservative, that's 12 grand. So again, I always look at the longer term picture that most people won't, because they want the, what I call pain relief, like let's go spend the money on stuff that's exciting now, rather than, again, if we just simple, basic, no share strategy, no investment strategy. I'm just talking about in 10 years time, if it's 12 grand a year now, in 10 years time, it's 120. But I can guarantee you this, I can tell the same story to 100 Aussies, or I'm going to pick on Aussies, and I can guarantee you that not one of them will do it, because they can't wait to see that end result. So the big screen TV will get bought, the new house, surround stereo, I'm going to put a pool in the backyard, and I'm going to put that on my mortgage and get myself into more debt. So the whole concept today is what you get taught from a very young age. If you have been taught this is the money box principle. Now for myself, with my daughter, every week she has a bunch of chores, activities that she does in the family unit. And because of that, she gets $4, put into the bank. And now if she goes beyond that, she can earn more. But that money is always getting put across. There's no if I'm going to put the $4 in there. It happens every single week. And so that's a basic analogy of what I've just been talking about, that profit first. Look for where you can farm some profit across immediately, straight away. And again, it's forming that habit that makes sense. Now, you can change that with any area of lifetime. For example, for most people, they give themselves to scraps left over, which I have this principle called me first principle, which is basically, where am I going to get the bit for me when I'm at my best? So I schedule and design my life so I'm not trying to do things after a big day of being working with clients or running the business or staff. I'm giving the bit for me first, and that way, I'm investing. So it's the same with anything in your life, your relationships, your money. If you're always doing that bit last, then you're getting the scraps. And so my encouragement for you is that if you really want a really great book to read, that's similar to this topic. It's called Profits First by Mike Markowitz. And it's a great book that goes into great detail about this. Now, I only just stumbled across the book not that long ago, but I've been doing this principle for a long time now, and I can see some really good parallels in terms of what he's teaching, and he has a similar concept. But it's all about profit first, and he just goes into more detail about the fact that, ego does base and drive a lot of businesses to try to be bigger and better and all this stuff, but the reality is the profit's not there, they're struggling, and you only normally hear the so-called we're doing great or what we're making, and but no one's really talking about the profit. So if you're in business each year, I'd be looking at, the profit we can get across is what's really important for the future. So if you don't have that, if you're not doing that right now, you really need to take some form of action. Of course, unless you like to be 5-10 years down the track, working your freckle out in your business to be left, like with the first story, the gentleman that I said at the start, who ended up 20 years later with absolutely zero and nothing to show for it. So that's my tip for the day. Hope that's made sense. I hope it's resonated in some shape or form. Again, if you are a trainer and you are just struggling to find out a way forward, you don't really have some skill sets and how to develop your business, we'd love to hear from you. You can message us through this page, go to our website, createpicyourwealth.com.au. We'd love to hear from you. It all starts is with that very first step to explore the potential how your business can maximise more. All right, hope you found that of use, and chat to you real soon.